Hey, hi guys, welcome back to our video again. So in this video, we will be changing out the fluid in the front fork. So we will take out the front fork and change the fluid inside. So if we have time, we will probably take out the rear suspension. And then we'll grease some of this bolting point. Okay, so first off, we crack open the top yoke in order to loosen the top cap, and then we can loosen the top cap. The reason why you do that is because once you slide out the whole fork, it's pretty hard to loosen this without a proper clamp. So we utilize the triple clamp as the clamp to loosen this. Then next, we loosen all the suspension setup to the softest by compression preload, rebound at the bottom. So once those are all set, so right now we can remove all the extra accessories like the fork light and the brake before we remove the front wheel. So this is using a 6mm bolt. To loosen this, it requires a 6mm bolt. To loosen the top cap is a 24mm spanner. To adjust the preload or to loosen the preload is 17mm. So everyone have a different bolt. So here our fork lamp is actually clamped by a 10mm bolt. I guess this was redone by the previous owner who installed this. So your one might be different. So after removing the fork light, we will remove this cable. This is a 8mm bolt. So followed by a 4mm Allen key here. Okay, then followed by two 12mm bolt on the brake caliper. So in this case, before we have something to anchor it, so all we need to do is just to loosen it. So next we'll use a 5mm Allen key to loosen out this ABS or this speed sensor. Okay, so after we crack open both sides, we can leave out this mud guard. Just take note of the washer, don't lose it. So next we'll use this 6mm bolt to release this two axle. So we don't need to take it out, all we need to do is just loosen it. So we can crack the axle out. So we are also required to loosen the other side of the axle bolt. So right now we need to find out the axle size. I guess it should be so it's a 22. So this is the axle. So before we remove the whole axle, so we need to jack up the bike a little bit. So when to stop this is basically once you see your tire has a little bit free play. It's good enough because it allows you to roll out the tire and the front of the bike won't slam down to the ground. So now what we need to do is to hammer out the axle, and by just using some driver, all we need to do is just hammer it out, tap it out. So it should pop out from the other side as we try to tap it out. Okay, thereafter we should be able to slide out the axle pretty easily. So you can see the axle is a little bit dry, so probably we gotta grease it later on. So we should be able to roll out the tire fairly easily. Okay, it's jammed. Probably we need to take out the caliper first. Okay, so we finally move out the brake and then take out the wheel. On this side it has a ABS cover, so we just take it out. So because it's using a rubber hose, so what we did is we just find a support for the brake caliper to rest on, so it doesn't stretch the line too much. Okay, pretty nasty brake pads, so probably we gotta clean it up a little bit. This will be the toughest part, to loosen this bottom triple clamp bolt. So it's a very tight space where you need to really feather out. There's two 6mm Allen key bolt inside here. So we have to slowly find a way to feather in and loosen the bolt bit by bit. I think tightening will be also a challenge unless you wish to remove the whole fairing. Okay, so it's loose. We can take it out. So we can slide out the fork slowly. Just don't want to damage anything. So here comes the first fork. So you can see that this is the cable tie that we put in to measure how much compression it dives. So this is the upper limit. You can see that it's very close to bottoming out. So one fork out. So right now we got to take the other one out. Okay, so right now we have taken out both forks. So what we got to do is we got to clean up a little bit before we start draining out the oil. So all we need is just some part and brake cleaner, and then just clear off all this grime. We'll be using some rag, try to clean off all this that is being accumulated for I don't know how many years. Okay, so this is the before, this is after. So after some cleaning, this is the best you can do because it's a very old bike. So some of the grime and dirt is already eaten inside. So probably you have to sandblast it or whatnot if you really want it to be really nice. So right now we got to crack open this cap and then pull out the oil. Okay, so once you open it up, you can slide this thing down. And let's see whether we can see what's inside. You can see the damping rod. So now we'll pour it out and see how much oil we can get it out. Okay, wow, disaster. Interesting. It's supposed to be 700 ml, but here is only what, 400. It's a lot missing. That's why it's so soft. So we pump a little bit to see whether it's still okay. So after many pumps and try, so we can see that the fluid is around 450. So this also explains why the suspension is so soft, and this is also very dangerous advice to follow. How much you pour out, how much you pour back in. It will only apply if the previous person done the right thing. The spec mentioned is almost 700 ml per fork, but here is what, almost 40% lesser. No idea why. Okay, so it's the same outcome on the other fork. It's also around 450 ml. So we just put the fork upside down and then we just let it drip for, I guess, next 30 minutes or so. So we just want to ensure every ounce of it is being dropped out before we put in the fresh oil. So while waiting for the oil to drip out, we can now wash this front wheel. Since it's already disassembled, so probably you can wash it very thoroughly. So we also take this opportunity to wash the caliper. Okay, you can see this is before, then this is after. So we also took out the brake pad and wash. Surprisingly, it's Rambo. So what we can see here is that this is the one from the combined braking. It wear off as a little bit more intense as compared to the other brake pad. So pretty much it's about an hour now. We can now see that it didn't really drip much more out. So right now we're pouring the new shock oil. So we use weight 10. The original spec should be weight 5. And then the volume requested is 696. So probably we just round off to 700. And then now slowly we will pour it in, bit by bit. And give it a pump to let it flow in. So we just kept it loosely. We'll just give it a few pumps to flush out the air. One done, and then one more to go. So we will go for another 700 ml. Okay, so now since everything is being installed back, so right now we got to fix it back to the frame or the triple clamp. So we also grease this part where the ABS cover is. Just put it back. So right now we're rolling the wheel. Slowly but surely, the wheel will get in. So we have to align the forks. So both of this bearing or this spacer and the cover here can fit in. Okay, the wheel sensor is actually at the back. And then we will slide in this from the other side. Okay. So right now we're going to align here to get the axle out. Okay, something like that. Okay, and then we just clear off the excess grease and then pop the lock nut back. So later on we will have to tighten this to 91 Newton meter. So right now we gotta fit in the caliper. Slot the caliper in. Slowly fit it in. Place the bolt in to secure them in place. Okay, so right now we realize we make a mistake. We didn't put this bracket in first, so we to remove the bolt again. So we tighten up all this small part first. So we have installed in the mudguard, and then now all these small items like the fork light. So we are installing it back as how we have taken it out. So after everything is fully assembled, we want to adjust back the suspension to a standard setup. So this is the compression, and so all we need to do is just mix it in. Okay, and then 12 click out. 2, 3, 4, 11, 12. So remember to adjust both sides. So same for the rebound, we just max the rebound on both sides. And then we will do 12 click out. 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12. Just adjust the rebound to standard 1, 2, 3 on the 4th line. So total that's 6. So lastly, we ensure that the wheels are all straight and aligned. And then we also check all the nuts if it's tightened. So just in case you miss out some, like this is loose. So yep. So we have successfully completed the front. So right now what we're going to do, we could try to grease the rail. In order to service the rear shock, you have to take out the whole rear shock. And then you need some professional tools, not just to change the oil, but also refill the gas, because it's gas operated as well. So we are not going to do that. So what we are doing here today is just to re-grease all this multi-link point. Probably it has not been greased, since this suspension is being slapped on it. So this part uses a 70mm bolt. This part uses a 17mm bolt. And this part uses a 19mm. So we got to break them and grease them accordingly. Okay, so now we will reset all this rear suspension setup. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 10, 9, 8. So what we did, we jack up using this part here as a holding point so that the wheel doesn't collapse when we start to remove all this bolt from the wheel shock. Okay, we can see pretty much the axle or the bolt is already bone dry, so probably we got to clean it up and grease it a little bit. So we have re-greased it with some grease. So 1 down, 3 more to go. So these are the bone dry bearing that is located at the bottom of the suspension. So after we took out the last bolt, we realized that there are heavy rust and even crack on the bearing, which are beyond greasing can repair. So end up we replaced the bearing and the brush rod in order to give it a one-time good fix. And we also realized that this was the cause of that weird cracking sound whenever the rear suspension hit onto a hard bump. So alright guys, thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.